Today's episode contains gross, disgusting content and is not for children. Listener discretion is advised. What happens when one man decides to take his internet fantasies into the real world? And then we take a look at the story of a family living in a house that's been converted into apartments. And everything seems to be going fine. But it turns out that after a very specific trigger, ghostly activity happens in this home. And it loves to target the children. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys had an awesome weekend. We got a ton of stuff to cover today, but let me go ahead and address the warning for all the wimps out here. I've never done, I've given warnings before episodes before, but I've never done one because it might be too gross. Usually it's because it's too shocking or violent or just vile to begin with. Now, if this is your first time listening to Dead Rabbit Radio, buckle up. Well, here's the funny thing, right? I don't think this is that gross. I really don't think it's that gross. Let me just put my cards on the table. Afterwards, you're gonna be like, that was disgusting, Jason. If you don't think this is gross, what do you think is gross? Let's go back in time a little bit before we move on with this story. I did an episode recently about a thing called mucking, which allegedly is a form of punishment in Eastern Europe, in different countries or different cities, where after you commit a string of low-level crimes, you are tied up to a beam in a barn while either cow manure or pig poop is shoveled onto you for about 4 to 6 hours. You're constantly getting a fresh coating of excrement straight from the butthole of an animal. Now, I didn't think that was that gross. I didn't think that was that gross, but I got so many complaints over that episode, which was odd to me. People were really disgusted by that. Well, I had mentioned there's a worse episode than that coming up. That episode is this one, but again, I don't think it's that bad. I'm including the warning because I got so many complaints about animal poop. This one is worse than that, sure. But it's still like on my grossometer. It's maybe like a 4. Maybe a 3. I'm just comparing it against all the other gross stuff that I know. So anyways, that's why I put that warning there. You may not be offended by this episode at all. You might sit down and enjoy a nice meal while you're listening to it. That's also why I'm reluctant, if this is your first time listening to Dead Rabbit Radio, we always pick a listener to drive us around from story to story. I'm reluctant to pick somebody to be the driver in this one, but I will, because I don't want to break with too much tradition. For all I know, this guy's into it too. He might be the one who posted this story. Let's go ahead and, you know what? You get to be the driver of this episode. You get to be the driver, the pilot of all of our vehicles. Let's go ahead and get started. I think that's good enough of preamble. Let's go. And I might be building it up too much. You might be kind of disappointed. I don't think so. I don't think so. It is gross, but I don't think it's warning gross. But anyways, this will probably be the last time we ever do a warning like that. I'm only doing it because it's so close to the mucking episode. We're hanging out in Dead Rabbit Radio Command. I'm going to toss you the keys to the Jason Jalopy. Everyone climb on board as you drive us on out of Dead Rabbit Radio Command, all the way out to a high-rise apartment complex. We talk a lot about fetishes on this show. It's a topic that comes up probably more than I thought it would on a paranormal podcast. You're like, Jason, yeah, because you keep picking weird stories that have nothing to do with ghosts and barely have anything to do with true crime or conspiracies. You just like talking about weird stuff. That is true. Fetishes are very interesting, though. They're still on the outskirts of society. Most people don't actually have a fetish, but you can have fetishes for all sorts of things. And you go, Jason, you're kink shaming. Is this whole segment going to be? Yes, it probably will be kink shaming. And if you have one of these kinks, I apologize. But I am not against the kink shaming at all. And that's where this story comes from. The story we're about to cover, when I was telling Sabine about it very briefly, I don't think I went into any detail, my friend Sabine, I said, she goes, well, if it's so gross, why tell it on your show? And I go, because it needs to be told. Because I think there's an important learning lesson in this story. This disgusting, vile story. But a key component of a fetish developing when you're younger is that whether or not you engage with it. So let's say, I always use the sister throwing the dirty socks at the younger brother, because that really is how a lot of these things pop up. That's confusing to him. His body is reacting, like, just naturally. He's starting to have these sexual urges. And around the same time, his sister's making him smell his feet, throw socks in his face, and all that stuff. You have that. The thing is, how much are you going to engage with it? How many times are you going to let that thought sit in your head? How many times are you going to keep re-engaging with that fantasy, right? How many times are you going to watch pornography with that theme? How many times are you going to go on a forums with that theme? Because a fetish can peter out pretty early on if you simply reject it. Once it takes hold, it's a little bit harder to get out. Not impossible. That old saying, there are two wolves in every person, and they're constantly fighting. And the wolf that wins is the one you feed. So if you want to have a normal, and I'm going to use that word, I know people call me a kink shamer, that's totally fine. I have a fetish for kink shaming. It secretly gets me off. You have a normal sex life, normal fantasies, normal sex fantasies, and then you have fantasies of women walking on your face, all day long. You love smelling dirty women's socks. You start buying dirty women's shoes off of eBay, and you come home from work and you take a big sniff of a size 5 red stiletto. Just stop doing that. That's what I'm saying. Just stop doing that. You got to catch it early on. But the less you engage with it, you stop feeding that wolf, you start to starve it out. You go, you know what? I don't need to smell this woman's shoe. I'm gonna watch babes with big boobs online. I mean, I guess that's a start, right? I would say just kind of ditch pornography altogether. But maybe you replace all your shoes with Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue calendars. Oh no, now you have a fetish for bikinis. But here's the thing. The more you engage with it, it's a little bit harder than I'm making it out to be. Oh, just quit it. And while you're at it, quit smoking as well. It's a breeze. Definitely the more you engage with it, it gets stronger. And the less you engage with it, it gets weaker, but you will start to kind of freak out because this is part of your personality. It's part of your personality you might hide from everyone else except for your fellow shoe dudes online. But it's not the easiest thing to get rid of, but it's very easy to make it more entrenched, and that's by continuing to engage in the conversation. Now, this is not just me preaching, because let's start the story here, and you'll go, well, Jason's just kind of like kink shaming and all that stuff, and I can tell his heart rate increased. He's a little flushed in the cheeks. I think it does get him off. But let's take a look at this guy, because this guy definitely should have stopped it. He had several moments where he could have stopped what was about to happen, but he didn't. And that's why we're going to talk about it here today on 10 Rabbit Radio. So, we're about to meet this guy. We don't have his real name. We'll call him Mike. Well, he does have an internet name, like his internet handle, and it's quite suiting. It's quite well suited to this tale. Mr. Freaky Cheeks. Okay? You're like, oh, Jason, if this is worse than animal poop. Does this involve human poop? Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Since everyone clicked off the episode. Mr. Freaky Cheeks. So anyways, we're going to call him Mike, though. Mike had this issue where during the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, we all remember that, he found himself developing a pornography addiction. I don't know how old this guy is. I'm assuming in his 20s or 30s. I don't even know if he lives in a high-rise apartment, but for whatever reason, I imagine this happening there. Now, technically, it could happen anywhere, right? It could be happening to you right now. You're like, ah! But I just imagine it happening in a high-rise apartment. I'll go more into that in the ending. But anyways, Mike, let's just say he lives in a high-rise apartment. During the pandemic, he develops a pornography addiction. It can happen really quick. You may have never, ever really even looked outside of anything but boobs and butts, like a swimsuit calendar. But then all of a sudden you're locked in your house for 6 weeks or however long that was. And then you're working from home and all that stuff. He starts watching more porn, so much so that he calls it a pornography addiction. And this happens. This happens a lot. He starts off with normal stuff, hot women, beautiful women, doing sexy things. And then it becomes sexual things, and then it becomes degrading things. And this kind of all goes downhill until one day when he's looking for a new dopamine hit. You don't really know you're doing it. You don't really know what's going on, but you start clicking around for stuff because you want something novel. You want something you haven't seen before to get that same rush. He discovers scat videos. So if you don't know what scat is, it's not Scatman Crothers, although that sicko may have been into this as well. He might have been Mr. Freaky Cheeks. Scat is watching people, usually women. I don't know if there's a big gay scat community, and I didn't research that either, but scat is, generally speaking, videos of people pooping or being pooped on. Disgusting, right? That's like the grossest thing to me. That's why we're going to talk about it for the next 15 minutes. I think it's disgusting. There's nothing appealing to me about poop, and there never was, not even as a kid. I wasn't a poop kid. I find it really gross. I hate the smell and the texture, and I can't even imagine what it would taste like. And I can imagine lots of stuff. I have quite the imagination. I imagine it would taste like what it smells like, would be my guess, would be my scientific observation, but I'm never going to find out. Everything about it's disgusting. And here's the thing about fetishes. You go, Jason, what happens in people's privacy, it's none of your business. That is true. That is true. But when you look at a lot of these people who have these fetishes, it can be debilitating. Someone who has a scat fetish, that's really going to make it hard for them to find a date. Or maybe they can go on a couple dates until date 3, and then it's time to hook up, and you're like, oh, do you have any Pepto-Bismol? No, that would make it preventable. You're like, no, you're destroying all the Pepto-Bismol in your girlfriend's house. Haha. No, what's something that, X-Lax, hey, honey, that's the third date. You know what that means? And you hold up a bottle of extra strength X-Lax. It can make it really hard to forge a meaningful relationship with someone because secretly you just want them to poop on you. Okay, let's get to the story. I feel like I'm just, setting it up too much. You're like, let me guess, Jason. This guy gets pooped on, and he hates it, and you're going to go into insane levels of detail about it. Is that what the next 10 minutes are going to be? Well, maybe. I guess we'll find out. So anyways, I don't think this is that gross. I'm almost about to remove the warning on this episode. Anyways, Mike develops a crippling porn addiction, and he gets into scat. He discovers scat, and he thinks it's the hottest thing he's ever seen. He's never seen anything like this. He loves to watch. Hey, let me read you a quote. This is what he wrote. Quote, "There is nothing hotter than watching a beautiful woman push out a giant log of poop in 4K. Unquote. I'm glad that he added in the definition of his monitor. He's like, I used to watch it in 720, and you couldn't really make out if it was a peanut or a piece of corn. But in 4K, all the colors just pop. It's almost like you can feel it. You can feel the granular little pieces of poop. Like, Jason, are you a bird? How grainy is your poop? It shouldn't be any. It should be soft. If it's grainy, that means that you're not digesting things right. It's funny because as much as I don't like poop, and I think it's disgusting, I poop a lot. I don't know if I poop more than the average person. I've never asked anybody. I probably wouldn't. But I do poop a lot. And because I poop a lot, because my stomach is always doing weird things, there's different types of poop, right? There's soft poop and hard poop. And sometimes it's grainy. I will eat that bread. I steal it from birds. They're like, Jason, that's not bread. That's a thing of seeds that are hanging up in a bird cage. No, I'll get that 9-grain, multi-grain bread. Your body can't digest all those grains. No, 7, 8, maybe, but 9. What madman made this bread? Of course it's going to come out a little grainy. I've also said, I don't know if I said this on the show before, but I've said this multiple times in real life. I'm pretty sure I have the world's tightest butthole. Because even when I have diarrhea, I have to kind of force it out. Which is a good thing. It's a good thing when you have diarrhea and you're trying to get to the bathroom, you're at work and you're like, I hope I hold it in. Yeah, it works out great. I think I have the world's tightest butthole. I don't think buttholes are supposed to be as tight as mine. I hear stories. My coworkers are like, the other day I made $10,000 by pushing out a log in 4K. I was like, what? No, I think it's other people don't say that it hurts. It doesn't hurt, but other people don't have to force out diarrhea. So I guess I will keep that intro in here. I don't think so, right? But I've never asked. I guess I should do a poll. We'll do a YouTube poll. Do you have to force to have diarrhea? So yeah, I think I have a really tight butthole. So I think I have a complicated relationship with my butthole too, right? So sometimes my body doesn't want to process all those grains. So it will be grainy. You're like, oh yeah, why is he going, oh yeah, he's talking about how grainy his poop is. Depending on the type of bread he eats. Don't eat that bread. Don't eat that bread, Jason. Your body's supposed to be able to digest it. We haven't even really gotten to the story yet. So anyways. Mike, let's not focus on my butthole. Let's focus on Mike. Mike says, he really gets into scat. Never thought about it before, but on the wrong day, he clicked on the wrong video and saw a beautiful woman pushing out a log in 4K. The initial one, right, he finds it, he's curious, he clicks on it, but now he's starting to reinforce it. He's watching more videos, he's getting more and more turned on. Now he's feeding that wolf. He's really into scat now. But what happens is, that all happened in 2020, right? Pandemic. So now fast forward to 2024. He's been reinforcing this scat fantasy for 4 years. And like most fantasies, they can't stay fantasies for long. Some people are able to control it, but it gets more and more difficult, especially if you're constantly reinforcing it. So Mike goes, you know what? I've been thinking about this for so long, that beautiful woman pushing out that log. I've been watching these videos for 4 years. I've seen all sorts of poop. Puddles of poop, long, thick, nice rods of poop, little pebbles, those hard little pebbles you poop out when you're dehydrated. What are the other types? I'm all naming all 9 types. There is like a chart. Because every so often I'll be like, am I dying? Why does my poop look like that? So I have to go online and I type in hard clay-like poop pebbles. And they go, you're severely dehydrated. I go, oh, okay. As I drink another Diet Pepsi, I was like, this will help my dehydration. More sodium. Yum, yum, yum. You'd watch all sorts of stuff. I remember a long time ago, let me segue here if you'll allow me to. A long time ago, I remember there was this guy on YouTube who was this total weirdo who loved videos. Who loved videos of people pooping. He loved the idea of pooping, specifically young men. And when I say young men, more like teenagers. Like 16 to 20 or something was his age range. And he loved videos of them pooping in the toilet. The problem with it, outside of being illegal, right? Outside of the first part being illegal, he was blind. So, you would imagine it's quite the scat fetish, I would assume, is very visual. But if you're blind, then what are you going to do? So what he would do was he would want to hear the sound of the poop falling in the toilet. He's like Daredevil. He's like, oh, I see. Someone's been eating 9-grain bread. Oh, I can hear the individual pieces of grain hitting the water like tears in rain. No, he was this guy. He was constantly trying to get young men, teenagers, to send in videos of them pooping in the toilet, but he can't watch them, so he just hears the bloop, 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 bloop as the poop is coming out, hitting the water. And at that time, a group of trolls decided to troll this guy, because his fetish was illegal, right? If it was 18 and up, he'd be totally fine. Again, it's not a fetish that I would want, but when it's 16 to 20, now you're talking, it's underage pornography. But is it porn? It is porn, actually. Legally, it would be because he's getting off on it. It wouldn't be illegal for anyone else. I don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that when the FBI kicks down your door because you have a bunch of videos of 16-year-olds, just the audio track of them pooping. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, the point is a bunch of online trolls started trolling him, and they began to pretend to be teenage boys and would drop random stuff in the water. They would go, I don't know if any of this content's still out there. Again, this was old school YouTube. But you would have to chat with this guy for a while, and then you would imitate a voice, right? You'd start off like on AIM Messenger, and then you would do a voice of a kid, and then you do the voice of like a teenager, squeaky teenager voice. And then when you finally earned his trust, because he was getting trolled a lot, he'd be like, record yourself pooping for me. And you'd be like, okay, I'll do that. And then you'd be throwing in like G.I. Joe action figures into the toilet. And he would freak out. He goes, that's not what poop sounds like. I've been tricked again. And this lasted for a while. It went on for a while. The blind dude was old. I'm sure he's dead by now or incarcerated. But, that I remember reading about. I was not a participant in that. I was not one of the trolls, shockingly, because I do a lot of trolling stuff online, especially back then. But, there was kind of a troll civil war over this whole thing. And the idea was like, who's worse? Us or him? Because at the end of the day, he just wants to hear a 16-year-old boy. Which again, the second the age comes up, he's the worst guy. You can't do that. But some trolls were like we're basically like stringing an old blind man along for months just so we can hear his reaction when we start throwing silverware into a toilet. And he goes, "What? That's not what it's supposed to sound like." I mean, technically, legally, he was the worst part of that, right? But some of the trolls started to back off. They go, it's just kind of picking on an old blind man. Just wants to hear poop in the water. But again, let's continue with this story. So, Mike is totally into poop. The sound, the smell, the texture. But the thing is that this is one of those fetishes, like many fetishes, that you can only take so far online because there is such a tactile part of it. You're into big boobs, you see a picture of big boobs, it turns you on. Right? There you go. Totally fine. You're good to go. You're into blondes, you get to watch a video with, who's that hot girl who went to space? In real life, not in a science fiction movie. What's her name? I don't remember. She's so beautiful. I'm gonna look her up. I'm gonna have to close all my scat porn tabs. Let me get to my hot model who went to space. just tell the stupid story. Like it's gonna pull up a bunch of sci-fi stuff. You're gonna see poop floating through the space station. Dude, what's her name? Anyway, she's like absolutely gorgeous. Not them. They might be pretty too, but fine, I'll get up. I have a poster on my wall, if I gotta be honest. I just couldn't read the poster from where I was sitting. Oh, Kate Upton. Kate Upton. Yeah, So I have a swimsuit calendar from a couple years ago. And, it doesn't tell time anymore, but it has a huge, gorgeous picture of Kate Upton. So it's just hanging up in my living room. Good to go, right? I just look up at her. I go, wow, she's attractive. I don't have to worry about it. But if you have a scat fetish, you can see it and you can hear it. But can you feel it? Can you feel it? It's a very tactile fetish. And let me say, too, so, Mike, there's poopers and there's poopies in the scat world. Some people want to get pooped on, and some people want to do the pooping. Mike is a pooper. Wait, what's it? I don't know. I made those terms up, but he likes to get pooped on. He's an honor. The other guys are the offers. He's an honor. He wants to get pooped on, and he wants to get pooped on his face. So he's watching these videos where people are getting pooped on their face. And he's like, if only that was me. If only that was me. I mean, I can see it and I can hear it, but I can't feel it. I can't feel that 6-inch log fall out of her butthole right onto me. It's like a fake mustache that lands right across my lips. It's me, a Mario. I can't do that. I can't feel it. The runniness, the solidness, whatever type you're into. I'm sure scat fetish, they probably are particular, right? Some people want like a healthy gut biome. Other people are like, give me what you got. Give me what you got. You got the gut biome of a homeless person living in New York City. Give it to me. Flies are coming out. So anyways, an undigested piece of pepperoni mixed in with all this liquid. It's like gravy on a Christmas afternoon. Thick and runny, with just a little bit of substance there. And a piece of pepperoni. Pepperoni floating in. Sir, you definitely need to go to the doctor if you can't digest an entire piece of pepperoni. But after our scat session, he wants to get pooped on. He wants the tactile. He wants all of it. He wants the taste. Now, again, this is a hard line for me, personally. I mean, it was in the beginning, the whole scat thing. But I don't understand that. I think it's absolutely disgusting. But then there's another level of it, where you want to taste it, where you want to eat human poop. Or any poop, to be fair, but specifically human poop. I remember years ago, I don't remember the book, and I don't remember who had the quote, but it was something that stuck with me. I read this in high school. And this stuck with me all those years, 30, 40 years ago? Not 40. I didn't graduate high school when I was 9, but about 30 years ago. It was reading a book about weird stuff, right, obviously, and they were talking to a psychologist in New York City, and she made the statement that at least or around 10% of her clientele, and this is something that's gone on over the years. She's a psychologist. She works with people who are very wealthy, powerful people in New York City, businessmen, stockbrokers, things like that. And she goes, one thing that I've learned over the years in New York City, at least, is that 10% of my clients, even though this isn't why they came to see me initially, 10% of my clients admit to eating feces at least once a month. It wasn't anything she had ever really thought about. But working there, she goes, it was pretty weird. It was, she goes, and I'm a psychologist. I've seen all sorts of nuts and crackpots. She goes, at least 10. Maybe it wasn't once a month. Maybe it was every 6 months or once a year. But I would argue any of it. Right? I was like, oh, you only do it every fortnight? Eat to your heart's content. She goes, I do remember the percentage that was 10%. She goes, 1 in 10 of my clients will admit that they enjoy eating human poop. Some of them put it in a little dish in the fridge. Some of them like it warm or runny, like eggs. She didn't say that. She didn't have those quotes. I said that. She didn't start going into a recipe of human excrement. Just so we're clear, you're like, what book was this and why were you reading it in high school? She just had the quote, 10% of her clients, very powerful people, admitted to eating poop on a regular basis. And she said what it was. I don't remember if it was once a month. I think it was. But anyways, that's why I imagine this to be a high-rise apartment. Because that was like my first time. I guess I was aware that people ate poop because there's a bunch of psychopaths out there. But this was the first time I think I came across it as very methodical. You know what I mean? Like there was actually it was like a regular thing for some people. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, this guy. So this is what happens. He wants the taste, right? There's no movie, there's no internet video that can ever give you the sensation of taste. So what does Mike have to do? He's going to have a real-life woman poop on him. Poop on his face. Poop in his mouth. I'm glad we're like 35 minutes into this. We haven't even got to the main part yet. I don't think we're going to have time for the ghost story, just so you're all like, damn it. The only reason I was sitting through all of this stuff because I wanted to hear about ghosts who ate babies. That's what it is. I teased it on the last episode. Right now, your baby's getting beat up by a ghost. You're like, maybe Dead Rap Radio will have the solution. You mentioned it. I'll talk about it on the next episode. Family, gather around. Put the in-laws on Zoom, everyone. This will be the fix of our problems. Baby's getting beat up. No, we'll have to do that tomorrow. But anyway, so Mike hires a dominatrix because how else are you going to find someone to do this? You could date someone for 6 months, and the second you bring it up, they freak out. He hires a dominatrix who specializes in scat, which would make sense, right? You want like a escort to come with you and go to a ball game, so it looks like you have a girlfriend, And then you go, oh, by the way, we're going back to my place. How many Cracker Jacks did you eat? Did you eat those 10 boxes I bought you? Because we're going back to my place. I want some caramel-flavored poop. No, he cuts right to the chase. He hires a dominatrix. And I, again, imagine he's in a high-rise, fancy apartment. A dominatrix comes to the door. It would be funny. It would be kind of funny if he just lived in a normal apartment complex and a dominatrix walked in. And I'd be like, Jason, she doesn't walk in wearing the leather, you idiot. She doesn't walk around town with the whip. Hurry up and bag my groceries, bag boy. She would look like a normal person walking around the apartment complex. Yeah, I guess, but it'd be funnier if she was dressed in all leather and she had a whip and she was walking around, North Highlands in Sacramento, where I used to live in an apartment complex. But it wouldn't look out of place, I would assume, in a fancy high-rise apartment complex. So people are all sickos. Didn't you hear that quote that I barely remember from 30 years ago? They're all crazy. Anyways, Mike hires a dominatrix who specializes in scat. I'm kind of like hurrying along now. And the dominatrix comes over. He doesn't say how much he paid. He does say it's not cheap. So I'm assuming like between $5,000 and $8,000, maybe $10,000. Not important to the story, but I'm just curious, right? Anyways, he pays her, and this dominatrix, we'll call her Rebecca, comes over to his place, and they are talking. Obviously they've talked online. She knows what the deal is. She's had a good meal. She's like eating 2 Chipotle burritos on the way over. She's like, that'll definitely do the trick. Hope he likes flaming hot Cheetos turned into poop. She's eating an entire bag. She comes over, and he's ready to go, and she goes, okay, let's do this. Now, apparently she brings a tarp with her, right? And when I read this story, they keep talking about the tarp. And I go, whose tarp? Whose tarp is this? Despite all the disgusting stuff that's going on. How much does she cost? It doesn't come with a free tarp. Wow, what a deal. $8,000, a free tarp, and a dominatrix? Sold. I was reading this and I go, whose tarp is it? If it's Mike's tarp, that would be understandable. If she brought her own tarp, I wouldn't. If I was a dominatrix or a dominatran, might be the male version of that, I wouldn't bring my own tarp. I know I'm going to make a huge mess. I don't want to clean it up. That's your job, pervert. It's your job to clean up after me. I wouldn't clean it up. If I pooped everywhere in someone else's house, I would leave. So anyways, the tarp, I believe the tarp is hers. You're like, Jason, it doesn't matter whose tarp it is. Get to the disgusting parts. Just get this episode over with. You've been talking about all sorts of random stuff. How you can't digest food? Go to the doctor, dude. You just admitted you can't digest food. Also, no human should have to strain for diarrhea. Your stomach, man. Go to a doctor. What is wrong with your butthole? Okay, so anyways, they lay down the tarp that may or may not be yours. And she says, go get ready. So Mike undresses. He's totally naked, and now he's laying down on the tarp. It's like, ooh, this is a nice tarp. He's laying down, and she walks over, and she squats. She then goes and changes, because again, she's not wearing her dominatrix outfit around town. And he says she comes out in this black leather outfit with no panties or bottom and no leather underwear, what normally goes down there. So she's bare-butted. And she walks over, and she goes, are you ready? And he goes, yeah, I'm ready. This has been 4 years of fantasy, 4 years of pornography, 4 years of reinforcing this thing in his head that this is what he wants. He is into scat. He's fed that wolf, and that wolf has led him to laying on a tarp in his apartment with a woman who has no bottoms on, standing over him about to poop on his face. She asked, are you ready? And this is what he wrote. This is his quote. I was extremely ready. I looked up at her beautiful ass and watched with excitement. Maybe this isn't that gross. Maybe this is totally normal for you. Maybe you're this dominatrix I looked up at her beautiful ass and watched with excitement as I saw it start to come out directly over my face. Then it fell directly into my open mouth. The moment it hit, I knew I had made a terrible mistake. Unquote. So imagine that. We don't have to imagine that. You literally read what he felt. We don't have to imagine that. No, imagine that. You're laying down on your brand new tarp, or maybe you borrowed it from a friend, who knows? But anyways, and first off, if it was me, which I would never be in this situation to begin with, I wouldn't have my mouth open, but I guess that's what he's into. I was like, I'm standing there, I'm like, you idiot, close your mouth, hurry up, no, oh no. Maybe he wanted to go right in his, I don't want anything to go right in my mouth. It freaks me out when I see people throw M&Ms up in the air and catch them in their mouth. I'm always afraid they're going to choke. I don't do anything with my mouth like that. I definitely wouldn't be like, I don't even catch snowflakes on my tongue. And this guy is underneath the booty with his mouth wide open. See, I would be afraid, obviously, of everything involved in this story. But what if it chokes me? Like if it comes down like it's a log. And it's like a pointed, like a long pointy thing, and it falls directly, it's going to make me gag, but directly into my mouth, and then like 6 inches of it, and then like 6 inches are still sticking out, but 6 inches are in me, and I can't breathe, and I'm flailing. And there's more poop coming because she had 2 Chipotles and a bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Oh, it's going into my nose and I suffocate. But again, I wouldn't be in the situation to begin with. Apparently, that's what he wanted. He probably fantasized for years and years and years about it falling directly into his mouth. And the second it hit, he realized this was a mistake. I shouldn't have done this. The texture and the taste and the smell, the things that he could not get through the video, the beautifully lit video in 4K where everyone's wearing makeup and the shot angles are just right to make everything look exaggerated. And then in real life, it's none of those things. Pornography is about as deceptive as a Star Wars movie. There's so much special effects. No one's penis is that big. Nobody. But you're able to make it look like every porn star has a massive penis because of the way the camera's angled and all of this stuff. It's lighting tricks. It's industrial light and magic on a porn budget. But the second it hits, he realizes that I don't want this. I don't want this at all. This is absolutely disgusting. He said it hit him, it went right into his mouth, he instantly lost all arousal. He's no longer turned on, he was done. But now he has poop in his mouth. He has poop in his mouth, he's laying on his back, he has no clothes on. What are you gonna do? To be fair, I mean, listen, man, he put himself in this situation to begin with. It's not like he was out at the park laying on a blanket with his mouth open. Wow, look at that big blue sky, and some guy pooped in his mouth. You paid for this. But I also understand the idea of thinking something was going to be one way and it turning out totally different. He goes, it tasted disgusting. It was such a gross, it tasted vile. It was so disgusting. And again, you have that texture. It doesn't matter if it's a log. It doesn't matter if it's lumpy. It doesn't matter if it's liquid. It's all in your mouth now. And you're tasting it. You're tasting what another person previously digested. And it's in you. I just imagine just the germ fear. We'll get to that in a second, actually, because this experience ruined his life, if you can imagine that. You're like, yes, Jason, it ruined mine by having to listen to it. I couldn't even imagine what it tasted like. I don't ever even want to think about it. This guy is living that, though. He's laying there, and here's the thing, right? He's done. He has poop in his mouth. He has poop on his face. He's done. It's not what he expected at all. But then he remembers something that she said to him earlier. The dominatrix, Rebecca, said, listen, a lot of guys, they chicken out at the last moment. They think that they want this, but when those cheeks spread and they're looking up at my butthole, they get cold feet. They go, no, stop. She's all trying to pinch it together. She's like, I don't know. You might get a little bit. It might have been too late. She said a lot of these guys are, all talk. And they back out at the last moment. And I gotta fold up my tarp. I'm all disappointed. I was like, can I at least use your bathroom? Because I gotta go. When Mike is laying there on the ground, he remembers there's poop in his mouth. He's like, oh, I remember those days before I had poop in my mouth. Oh, yes. He's reminiscing and he's thinking, well, and this is kind of sad, right? The whole thing's sad, but this is kind of sad. He goes, listen, I have never been lucky with women. I've always had a hard time interacting with women. And this woman, beautiful woman in my apartment, had told me previously that a lot of men chicken out, and I didn't want to be a chicken. I didn't want to let her down because I've always had a bad time with women. So I didn't know. I knew what I could just say, nope, I'm done, and reach and pull the poop out of my mouth, and hopefully it doesn't break off, right? Hopefully you're able to get the whole thing out like the sword and the stone. Pull it out and go, no, I'm done. I'm done. Here's your money. I've already paid you. He goes, but I didn't want to let her down because I'd always had such bad luck with women, and she didn't like these posers and these chickens. So I didn't say no. I didn't, speak up for myself. So he's laying there on his back. He has poop in his mouth. He has poop on his face. And it's disgusting. It's repulsive. It's the grossest thing he's ever experienced, but he doesn't want to let down this woman that he had just met. He could just roll and spit it out and say, okay, leave. I'm done. That was gross. Lesson learned. But instead, he just lays there. Doesn't want to disappoint her. And that's when she tells him, eat it. And he does. He starts chewing the poop off his face. He's like, did you have to eat this many peanuts? There's a lot of peanuts in this poop. It's like a Payday candy bar. How much did you eat? He has to gobble it up. So he's sitting there and he's chewing on it. We're like, we get it, Jason. We get it. He's eating it. His mastication efforts were not in vain. He soon swallowed all of the poop in his mouth. That is when she said, because it gets worse. I mean, I guess technically you could say it can't get worse than that. But again, for me, this is a hallway of horrors. This is horrifying. She then commanded him to lick her clean. Like, Jason, that's not... I mean, it's not really worse. It's just more of the same. I don't know. It's kind of grosser, right? Because now you're licking a butthole. I don't know. I just think it's gross. And then she peed on him and made him drink that up too. He's like, I didn't pay for this. This was a part of the bargain. I'm not in the urine. Ah! And at that point, he started crying. What? It wasn't at that point. He's like, oh, pee. The final punishment. No, he started crying earlier on because he realized he didn't want to keep eating poop. But he also didn't want to let her down. He was like, that's sad, Jason. That's horrible. You never said there was going to be crying in this poop eating story. Well, I mean, he's doing so, like, it finally hit him. He doesn't want this, and he's sitting there and he's crying while he's licking her butthole, and then he's crying as she's peeing on his face. And now he's just crying. He's sitting there in his apartment crying, so she slaps him. And he won't stop crying, so then she puts him over her knee and she begins spanking him. You're like, what? You're like, I was down for all the poop stuff, but what a pervert! What a pervert! She's spanking this man. Spank. And she starts spanking him. In her defense, because you go, wow, Jason, that, turned super dark. Not chocolately brown like normal, but, blood in your stool dark. And yeah, but in her defense, she probably didn't know what was mentally going on in his head. She may have go, oh, this is just part of the humiliation fetish. The crying's normal. All of my clients cry. And I'm spanking. The fact that she was slapping him and then put him over her knee and started spanking him, I don't think she was doing anything non-consensual. He never voiced it. Right? She was getting paid no matter what because she'd already shown up. It wasn't a thing about her not getting paid. I think she probably thought this was part of his fetish, debilitating fetish for sure, when you're paying people to poop in your mouth. And if you're someone who's a professional pooper, you've probably seen a lot of people cry, and you've probably seen a lot of weird stuff. She's probably just rolling with it. She's like, oh, this guy wants to be treated like a bad boy. I'm going to spank him. I don't know. But she might have been a horrible person as well who saw a man grieving, and she's I'm gonna spank this guy. And I got a funeral to go to tomorrow. I'm gonna spank everyone there. Maybe she is. But anyway, she ends up leaving. He goes and takes a shower, obviously, right? He's like, oh, let me sit and contemplate my life choices. He's rolling around on the tarp. Who cleaned up the tarp? The tarp is still there to this day. A silent yet smelly reminder of his choices. I'm pretty sure she brought the tarp. Like, Jason, it doesn't matter. Well, because I wouldn't clean up after myself if I was a professional pooper. If you've been a bad boy, you gotta clean up this tarp and also mail it back to me because it's mine. He ends up taking a shower and he's crying in the shower and he absolutely regrets all of his decisions that he's made. He realizes that he doesn't actually have a scat fetish. But he also realized some other stuff. He became a hardcore germaphobe after this. He became basically Monk, Mr. Monk from that awesome television show. But instead of getting it because his wife was murdered, he got it because he got pooped on. And he's super clean freak germaphobe, which would make sense, right? His body went into overdrive in that moment. He received the waste product of another human into his body. And it probably did send a bunch of his chemicals and neurons and gut biome and everything into overdrive, and he can't shut it off because I'm constantly cleaning my apartment, constantly cleaning myself. He's always afraid that he has germs on him. He said also, he goes, I never really had luck with women. This has made that worse. He goes, I have a huge problem interacting with women now. In fact, he goes, there was this girl who I really attracted to her, and she started flirting with me, and it gave me a panic attack. He goes, I'm worse off now with women than I was before. I have a really hard time interacting with them, and, I don't know what I'm going to do. I thought things were bad before relationship-wise. They're even worse now. He says, he titled this post, I paid a dominatrix to poop in my mouth because I thought I had a scat fetish. It ruined my life. That's really how he sees this moment. That's why I think this story is important. I think a lot of people fall into this category. They just get wrapped up in a fantasy world. It happens a lot it can happen with anything, right? You could think you're the best singer in the world and then you try to make it as a singer and you don't, and you've invested years and years and hundreds, if not thousands of dollars into something that just was never going to happen. You were wrapped up in the fantasy of the glamour and the lights. But even then, at least you're doing things, you're trying to achieve a goal. With pornography. So, that's kind of why I wanted to tell this story. I do think it's important. I think a lot of people who do have fetishes can get swept away with them. It happens a lot. You can look, there is a subreddit, which I hate Reddit, but there's a subreddit called, I'll put it in the show notes, I don't remember the exact name of it. It's Open Marriage Regrets. And it's stories about people saying, my wife wanted to open up the marriage, and I didn't want to, but I said it was okay, and then I never see my wife anymore. She has a new boyfriend, stuff like that. Or my husband said he wanted to open up the marriage, and great, but it's completely destroyed our marriage, and we're getting a divorce. And a lot of these start off with one person having this fantasy and kind of nudging the other person into it, is really the bulk of these stories. People do this with open marriages, people do this with all sorts of things. And it can be anything outside of a mild inconvenience. You're wow, I planned all this time to drive out and meet this girl who was really into dressing up like a cat. And when I went to her house, the entire house smelled like cat urine. I immediately lost all arousal. And I went home, and what I lost was the time it took for me to drive there and back, and the cat scratch fever I got from 10 of her cats attacking me. Sometimes it can change your life. Or ruin the life of this guy. Right? And it's one of those stories, no one's at fault. I'm not saying he's a bad person. But, it's gross, bro. And it's the wolf you feed. And this example, the wolf is eating feces. It's all yummy, yummy, yummy. You'll enjoy it too, just open your mouth. It's the one you feed is the one that wins. And so this guy was just so wrapped up in this fetish that he developed very late in life. And then he kept feeding it and feeding it and feeding it and building it up in his head. And then it happened, and it was the worst thing that could happen to him. And now it's completely ruined his life. It's changed his personality, and it's changed the way he interacts with women. So that's why I think this is an important story. Maybe not on the grand scale of things, but, maybe you're out there, other people are out there struggling with a fetish that they don't want or they want to tamp down on. And that's the lesson. Just stop engaging with it as much as you can, even if it has to be slowly over time. Because the more you feed it, every time you think about it, every time you interact with it, it only becomes stronger. Just like any drug. It's a drug, right? A fetish can be a drug. You're getting that dopamine hit. And if it is damaging and if you know it's unhealthy, you could be telling yourself, no, this is totally normal. This guy knew it was unhealthy. You just know eating people's poop is unhealthy. Otherwise, everyone would be doing it. Apparently, 10% of New York does. But you know it's unhealthy. You could look up the health risks of eating human feces. You can go to WebMD, shut down Pornhub for a day and go to WebMD and look up all of your fetishes and see how disgusting they are. Or maybe they're not, right? Maybe it's just like a foot fetish. Although I'm sure people get foot and mouth disease. That's how it came from, was the original foot fetishist. But anyways, that's why, I also want to tell this story because it was disgusting. I'm not going to pretend I'm on some crusade. It was also really, really gross. Was it as gross as mucking? I don't know. There's a version of this episode that won't have the warning on it, because maybe it won't. Maybe it won't. I didn't think it was that bad, right? I didn't think it was that bad. Oh, wait, sorry, I gotta go. The dominatrix is out the door. I'm gonna try something new today. Anyone have a tarp? Anyone have a tarp I can borrow? Ugh, disgusting. Gross. It's just so gross to me. So that is also why I wanted to share it with you. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. You might not be, but I am. Have a great one, guys.